point, and I made it several times today in a bunch of different threads, pushing the fact that the Democrats are going to be the new party of no. I mean, the President Obama is going to be the president of no. President Obama is going to be the president of no, because we're going to pass stuff, and it's going to go to his desk, and he's not going to deal with it. He's going to table it. He's going to veto it. And that's a big deal. That's something that people hear about. That's something that the press loves to talk about, even the Democrat press loves to talk about, because when you've got a bipartisan piece of legislation, which we will be getting, because these guys, the Democrats don't have very many seats anymore in the House, and certainly they're looking to hold on to seats in 2016 in the Senate. They are going to have to vote for some of these bills, particularly on Keystone, and things that are common sense measures, as you said, when it comes to Obamacare, repealing the medical device tax. These things are going to cost Democrats in the election if they don't vote for them. So what we have is a scenario where it behooves us to see the president veto all of these bills. I've talked to this in threads. People, for whatever reason, want to put a brick wall up and say no because Boehner is here, and because we aren't getting everything repealed at once, because we aren't, passing everything with extreme vengeance, because we aren't impeaching Obama today, because Boehner did not, as the first act of Congress, the first act as Speaker, put up the thing for impeachment. It's somehow a cause for us to primary 200 members of Congress.
All at the same time.
All at the same time, yes. Yeah. At the same time.
Nationwide, right? Well, and I just think it's so funny because, we used to, in 2012, we saw all of these no Obama signs all over, and I think if Obama's having to say no, and if he's vetoing all the time, then I think no Obama is going to take on a whole new meaning. And if the Democrats are wanting to protect their seats, they're going to have to choose. Are they either going to choose to support a president who is constantly promoting unpopular ideas and give up their seats? Or are they going to start to turn on the president, and are they going to start to listen to some of their constituents and start to vote along with the Republicans on some of these issues, like Keystone, like dismantling Obamacare, and actually help us out?
Yeah, actually, keep in mind, it hasn't just been Obama who's been protected by Harry Reid. It's been the other guys in Congress. They didn't have to vote on these things. I believe Keystone's going to fly. I think we're going to override him.
Yeah, I think it should be an interesting exercise going forward. But hey, I'm a rhino probably because I am not entirely miffed about John Boehner being. That's not even true. I would prefer. We've said this a billion times already on this show, and I've said it a billion times today. Boehner is not the guy that I want. He's not my first choice, and I'm okay with him being speaker because we needed a speaker, and he was the guy who won. So, yeah. I mean, what other options do we have? Is there something that I don't know? Is there a secret, double secret probationary way to remove John Boehner because he's orange? I don't know.
And he's not that orange. I do think we need to be prepared that the media is not going to all of a sudden change their minds. For the last 6 years, conservatives, even though all we've had is the House of Representatives, we've been the obstructionists because we've been passing all of these bills out of the House that are completely unacceptable, forcing Harry Reid to not even bring them up because we are so crazy and obstructionist and just we're the radical conservatives. Wrap your head around that, but we are radical conservatives because of whatever. That's what the media says. Well, now they don't have Harry Reid to hide behind, and so the House is going to pass the legislation. The Senate is going to pass the legislation. We're probably going to get more Democrat votes than anybody expects on some of these things. And Obama, Well, poor blessed Obama, he's going to be forced to veto this crazy cake stuff that these radical conservative nut bars are passing. I mean, it used to be bad when, but at least Harry Reid could stop it. Now, my gosh, it's horrible. The entire legislative branch has gone insane, and all we have saving us is Obama and his veto pen. That's the way the media is going to be about it. So
Absolutely.
we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared with our counter message of common sense and explaining that Obama is being obstructionist because he is preventing us from doing the common sense things that allow the people of America to be in charge of their own lives and to have choice over what they do, and Obama just wants to control everything. So we're going to have to keep fighting. We just have to change our messaging a bit.
And I've got to say this. Andy's said it tonight even. We don't own the media or academia or all these other transmission message forms. We're not in Hollywood. The only way those messages of this is common sense legislation and the president's vetoing it, the only way that narrative gets out is through us. Because are you going to depend on the leadership of Congress to sell that, given their track record? Do you think they are equipped to sell that?
They can't sell coats to Eskimos.
Thank you. So it's on us. Anybody who thinks that whatever's going on in Washington is the only thing that matters, you have got to be kidding me. You have a duty. Every one of us who is on the right, who's in the rightward end of the spectrum, has a duty to go out and sell these ideas. If you believe in them, if you want them done, you create the popular support for it. You go out and you message these things in terms of common sense. Why wouldn't you want to sell insurance across state lines where there'd be more competition? It's just common sense. How much more do you need to say? And then you build that on the ground, and the support will get those things done. Because the media's not going to do it. Colleges are not going to do it. It's got to be us.
Well, and I think it's even worse than that because, a caged animal is dangerous, and an animal that is backed into corner is very dangerous, more dangerous than if they're, floating free. The media and academia and, education and entertainment have been for years floating free and nicely pushing their liberal message. We're catching them out. We're calling them out. We're trapping them. We're encircling them, and we are proving what they're doing. So they're feeling very vulnerable, which means they're going to be far more vicious and more dangerous than they've ever been. This is the left political, media, entertainment, education. They're going to be far more vicious, and we have to be prepared for that.
Well, and there's two other reasons. First of all, the beauty of these things that we're pushing is these are all issues that poll very well for us. Okay, the polls are way in our favor on Obamacare, every aspect after aspect.
And that's why the media is scared. They know they're wrong.
They're terrified. Securing the border, E-Verify, things in dealing with immigration. The polls are well in our favor. Gun rights, the polls are well in our favor. And we need to take advantage of where the polling is. That way we don't have to worry about how we're going to get crushed right away. I think the media is going to have a much harder time doing this. And here's the other reason that they are desperate. I've mentioned this before. They're desperate because of 2018. In 2018, there are seven highly vulnerable Democrat Senate seats and only one vulnerable Republican Senate seat. They are already down for, they need 2016 in the worst way. They don't just need to win in 2016. They've got to win big. They're desperate. And right now, they're desperate at a time when they are polling poorly. Their president has just been put in the position of having to issue all kinds of vetoes that are going to hurt his party even worse going into the 2016 elections. Guys, we got him on the ropes. Quit dividing and beating each other up. Start dancing in the end zone. Start spiking the ball. Start enjoying yourselves because you're about to pound them into tomorrow. I'm an ex-Democrat. I come from that side. I know how terrified they are of you. Why? Oh, why? Are we attacking each other? I'm not saying that we shouldn't be disappointed at times. We should. Because I look at the leadership in Congress and I say, come on, guys, now's the time to show some stones. We've got them. Don't be arrogant. Don't be obnoxious. Be nice. Do it nicely and make it hurt even more. Okay? But do it. Guys, quit attacking each other, because if they do not steamroll us in 2016, they're in terrible shape. Enjoy it.
I know a lot of people who were talking about how moderate George Bush was. And technically speaking, he might have been a little bit moderate. But compared to Barack Obama, he was very conservative. I'll give you an example. I was reading up on George Bush. He had 50,000 pages of regulations in 8 years. And I know right now you're going, 50,000 pages? Oh my God. Obama, just this year alone, already for 2015, has 75,000 pages of new regulations. 75,000.
And that's just
in 1 year. That's just 1 year. I mean, it's insane. The main reason I bring this stuff up is because you have a choice. Sometimes it sucks, but sometimes you have to take something that sucks less. I know that sounds bad, but I mean, it's just the way it is, and you can't take other people and expect, like, I like Rand Paul personally. I like what he's trying to do in some moderation in some areas, and I don't like some of the other stuff he's doing. But if he runs for president next year, in the next 2 years, I don't think he'll win, because there's so much of a swing to being a conservative, being really conservative from somebody who's so liberal that it's literally like dropping independence in ice water. It'll shock them to death. They won't understand it. They'll think the whole thing it'll be cutting them apart. And that's just the way I see things. And the other thing I was going to say, y'all were talking about the public, the media, things like that. If you want to find out what the media is going to talk about this week, just watch Morning Joe on MSNBC at 6 to 9 on Monday, and you'll find every talking point that you want that's coming out of the president's office. And there's just no doubt about that. I watch it all the time. I see what they're doing. Speaking of a hoodie, it was mentioned on MSNBC this morning as being a real story. So it has legs.
What, you mean the Oklahoma hoodie story?
Yeah,
wow.
It was on MSNBC as a story this morning.
Amazing. And a couple of things. Stefan, I hope you come back next week, because what I really want to get into next week is the regulatory burden of things. There have been a couple of articles that I've bookmarked from this week, and we can talk about and maybe prep for that for next week, because the war against regulations, I think, is a war that we can win, and that we can bring a lot of people over to our side on. There's so much around that, and if we can get our messaging right, I think we can win that battle. And I really want to hit that next week. But yeah, you can see that JD and Ryan put on their hoodies. One of the things that this actually goes to some of the unity, fight for your team kind of conversation that we've been having, that we're getting to after the shock of the whole quote shock of Boehner still being our speaker. But we've got to come together and be unified in this and be a single team, and that means that we have to use choose our battles, like we said last week as one of our resolutions, but we have to fight wisely. And our first instinct so frequently is to cover our own butts and throw people on our side under the bus if it means that we can preserve that image of being moderate, because moderates are more rational, and we don't want to be seen as being conservatives who always defend our own side. So we tend to be a little bit too eager to believe the accusations against our own team or against conservatives.